It's truly baffling, isn't it? Sometimes in Malaysia, you see our nation achieve something genuinely significant on the global stage.
Something really positive.
Yeah, something humanitarian, literally saving lives, preventing bloodshed. And you'd think, okay, back home, everyone would be proud, right?
You would expect that, yes. Universal pride.
But instead, what happens? Our deep-seated political divides, they can turn even a widely celebrated international success into this point of contention, even outright mockery.
It does feel like that sometimes. Like we're quicker to tear things down than build them up, even when it's something that reflects well on the country.
I've seen it happen too often myself. A leader achieves something positive and bam, it's immediately twisted into some kind of political weapon. It makes you wonder, why do we do this?
What does it say about our political climate when a moment that should bring national unity just becomes another battleground?
Exactly. So we're going to try and delve into why this happens and maybe what the real cost is. And, I'd be really curious what you listening make of it all.
It's a really profound observation, actually. And it points to a critical challenge in our public discourse here in Malaysia. When international leaders are actually commending Malaysia for preventing human suffering and our efforts are backed, affirmed by major global powers, it's just puzzling to see that met with skepticism or fault-finding.
Or ridicule, like in this case.
Or even ridicule, exactly, by some back home.
Yeah.
This isn't just about normal political sparring, is it? It feels like it touches on something more fundamental.
Yeah.
It forces us to ask, at what point does political disagreement, which is healthy, we need debate, when does it cross that line?
Right.
When does it become something that actively undermines national dignity? Or, even worse, puts genuine humanitarian work at risk?
And that's not just theoretical, is it? It has real consequences.
Absolutely. Real-world consequences for how Malaysia's seen and, frankly, for the integrity of our own political system.
Okay, so let's get into a recent example that really, really highlights this. We're talking about this peculiar incident involving a prominent politician, Ahmad Fadhli.
Ah, yes, the cartoon.
The cartoon. He posted this, pretty unusual cartoon online, and it really seemed like a direct, unmistakable jab at the Prime Minister's efforts.
Efforts to mediate a pretty significant peace deal internationally.
Exactly.
And what was so striking was the imagery used, wasn't it? And the message it sent.
Yeah, describe that again.
Well, the cartoon, it depicted a monkey.
Right.
Sitting as a judge.
A monkey judge, okay.
And then you had a goat and a sheep sort of squabbling over bananas.
Right, bananas.
And Ahmad Fadhli added this text, which, it didn't leave much room for interpretation. The implication, widely understood, was that this fight between the goat and sheep didn't really need a monkey mediator.
So basically calling the PM's intervention unnecessary, or just for show.
Pretty much. That it was unnecessary, maybe just a spectacle, lacking any real substance. It was, let's be honest, a demeaning analogy, designed to belittle a very serious diplomatic effort.
And this wasn't just some random tweet that disappeared, was it? It blew up pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. It ignited a fierce and very widespread reaction almost immediately.
So much so that he ended up deleting it.
He did, yes. The condemnation was intense enough that he took it down. But, by then, the damage was kind of done. The debate had started. The perceptions were out there.
The speed and the scale of that backlash really showed it hit a nerve, didn't it?
It really did. It suggests people felt it crossed the line.
So let's connect this back to the bigger picture, the actual mediation itself, because context is everything here.
It really is. The Prime Minister's involvement in brokering this ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia, this wasn't him just claiming success out of nowhere.
No.
Quite the opposite. Leaders from both Thailand and Cambodia personally thanked him for his contributions. This was acknowledged success, diplomatically speaking.
Acknowledged by the parties involved.
Directly. A genuine achievement on the international stage, not some, self-promotion. And we need to remember the seriousness of what they were dealing with.
Absolutely. And this is where the mockery feels particularly, jarring. This wasn't a minor squabble.
Not at all.
As of late July, this border conflict had already cost 38 lives, 38 people dead, and forced 200,000 people from their homes.
200,000 displaced. That's a huge number. A genuine humanitarian crisis unfolding.
A dire situation. And Malaysia played a pivotal role, apparently, in calming things down.
A role that wasn't just welcomed by Thailand and Cambodia, crucially.
Right. Who else?
It got widespread affirmation. Applause, even from major international players. We're talking the U.S., China, the entire CUS community.
So globally recognized effort, helping solve a crisis with a real human cost.
Exactly. And when you put that against the domestic reaction, the ridicule, the contrast is just, well, stark.
Stark is the word. So, an internationally praised humanitarian effort, something that demonstrably saved lives, brought credit to the nation.
Gets turned into a caricature at home. It's no wonder there was such a strong wave of condemnation, really.
From across the political spectrum, too, which is interesting.
Yes, a pretty unified call for more mature politics, more responsible discourse. It felt like a lot of people are just tired of this cynical, demeaning approach, especially when it targets something genuinely positive.
It does raise big questions about leadership, doesn't it? What should we expect? I mean, look at the response from the Uyuko chief, Maud Kamil.
He was quite forceful, wasn't he?
Very, didn't mince words. He directly called on Ahmad Fadhli to apologize, not just to the PM, but to the people of Thailand and Cambodia.
That's a strong statement, taking it beyond domestic politics.
Absolutely. He said Malaysia wouldn't defend, quote, reckless and ignorant behavior and disrespect for neighboring countries. He really went after the opposition, saying they seemed to prefer national failure over acknowledging a proud moment. Called it unpatriotic. A shame.
And he brought religion into it too, didn't he?
He did. So grounding his criticism in both national and moral terms.
That's significant. But perhaps the response that really turned heads came from somewhere else.
You mean Dr. Akmal Salah?
Exactly. Because, let's face it, he's not usually seen as an ally of the Prime Minister. His intervention carried a different kind of weight.
Definitely. What did he say? His statement was quite powerful, I remember.
It really was. It cut through a lot of the usual political noise. He flat out condemned praying for a fellow Muslim's destruction or insulting them by, likening them to animals.
He drew a clear line based on religious principles.
Absolutely. He stressed that simply do not permit that, regardless of political differences. And he insisted that political arguments should be based on facts, on rational debate, not, as he put it, immature emotions.
That's a call for a different standard.
And he rejected that whole whataboutism excuse, didn't he? The other side does it too argument.
Yeah, what was his analogy? Something quite graphic.
He likened it to willingly eating filth. A very strong image. He made it crystal clear. He might disagree with the PM on issues, but wrong is wrong, and right should be acknowledged.
So principles over partisanship, essentially.
That was the message, a call for mature, constructive politics. And he issued a pretty stark warning, too, saying if politicians keep using these narrow, demeaning tactics, the public will just grow to despise them.
That's quite a warning from within the broader opposition sphere.
And he finished by saying he wasn't blindly supporting anyone, just speaking out to prevent the slandering the name of... It felt like a significant moment, maybe signaling a desire for more decorum, even from unexpected places.
We also heard from Vice President Wan Rosdi, didn't we?
We did. He also weighed in, labeling the actions of those demeaning Malaysia's efforts as showing shallow moral and intellectual capacity.
Strong words.
Very. He highlighted how crucial it is for leaders to show maturity, especially when dealing with diplomacy and humanitarian issues on the world stage. Basically, a call for grown-up politics.
And the government side reinforced this, too.
Yes, the Deputy Minister Teoni Ching. She stated very clearly that the banana dispute cartoon was completely inappropriate.
And she focused on the human cost again.
She did. She underscored the seriousness: 38 dead, 200,000 displaced. She stressed that a peace agreement, something Malaysia should be proud of, should never, ever be turned into a joke.
So, quite a chorus of condemnation from various sides.
It painted a pretty clear picture. A broad segment of Malaysian leadership recognized the importance of this achievement and were willing to call out those who undermined it for, well, seemingly narrow political reasons.
So when this kind of thing happens, this political mockery on such a public stage, what are the consequences? The wider implications? Ahmad Fadhli, he deleted the post, right? Under pressure.
He did delete it after the backlash, but significantly, he refused to apologize.
Refused? What was his reasoning?
He basically said he'd leave it to the police to investigate, which, refusing to apologize adds another layer to it all.
What does that tell us?
Well, it really highlights a tricky aspect of modern political communication, especially online. The actual legal consequences for posting a cartoon like that might not be severe. It's satire, however crude or ill-judged.
Right, it's not necessarily illegal.
Probably not. But the political damage, the damage to reputation, that could be huge, especially for someone like Ahmad Fadhli, who often positions himself as upholding religious and moral values.
So the perception hit is bigger than any legal hit.
Potentially, yes. When you target a widely praised humanitarian effort, you risk alienating not just your opponents, but also moderate voters, people who value national success and basic compassion.
And as some pointed out, it could backfire in other ways.
Exactly. Observers noted that actions like this risk, inadvertently perhaps, slandering the name of Kuoturio by association. If you claim moral high ground but then engage in mockery of peace efforts, it erodes public trust.
Trust in the politician and maybe even the principles they claim to represent.
Precisely. It damages their standing, undermines future statements, and that stark contrast we talked about, international praise versus domestic attacks on the same humanitarian issue, it just lays bare these fractures in our political culture.
And could that impact future efforts, like how the public sees diplomatic work?
It potentially could, yeah. It might make people more cynical about future initiatives, even beneficial ones, if they see everything getting dragged into the political mud.
So what we've really seen here is just a fascinating but honestly quite frustrating snapshot of Malaysian politics today. An internationally lauded act of diplomacy, something that genuinely saved lives, brought credit to Malaysia.
Becomes just more ammunition for internal political fights. It's a cycle that feels really hard to break sometimes.
It really does.
And it really makes you think hard about the responsibility that comes with having a public platform, doesn't it? Especially if you're a political figure.
Yeah, where is the line?
Exactly. When does that constant chase for political advantage start to eat away at broader national interests? Or even more fundamentally, undermine basic human values like peace, compassion, saving lives?
But maybe there's hope. The calls for mature, constructive politics were quite widespread this time.
They were, and coming from across the spectrum, including surprising voices like the D-Youth chief. That does highlight a real desire, I think, for a different kind of conversation in this country.
A hunger for something better than just constant bickering.
A yearning for politics that can rise above the pettiness and actually focus on genuine progress, perhaps.
So, as you listening reflect on all this, maybe consider, what kind of political leadership does Malaysia really need? How do we navigate these complex global issues with dignity, but also effectively?
And maybe, how can we, just as regular citizens, encourage a political culture that actually prioritizes national dignity and humanitarian efforts over this kind of narrow, demeaning rhetoric?
What really stands out to you the most when you think about this whole situation? It's worth pondering.